Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rob's Ramblings here on the Bucks and Six channel. Today, we're back at the Brown Table of Sports Card Collecting. Hopefully, my lighting and my camera setup is going to work a little bit better than my endeavor from the boat, although I will admit I did have fun bringing you that episode. But anyways, today's episode, I went through basically for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 hours looking through my collection, trying to put this video together. And the topic is my childhood top 10 cards. So the criteria that I used, first of all, it had to be a card that I owned in 1989. When I was a kid, I started collecting cards in the late 70s, and I collected through most of the 80s and into the late 80s. 89 was really the last year that I collected as a kid, and I didn't really do much collecting in 89. Most of my card collecting occurred in the early 80s to mid 80s. So first, that was the first criteria that I used. It had to be a card that I owned in my collection, that I ripped out of a pack or I bought at my local card shop when I was a kid. So I started digging through Slab City and One Touch Town. I didn't even get into Top Loader Land, and I had way too many cards to choose from. So I just left it at my Slab City cards and my One Touch Town cards. And then I realized I really shouldn't include any Brewers in this list, because if I did, all of my cards would be Brewers, and it would be not quite as interesting for the rest of you. So I eliminated all of the Brewers right off the top, so that made my job a little bit easier. I reduced the number of cards by quite a bit by doing that. I also eliminated any card that was given to me from my Aunt Gail. If you are a regular watcher of my channel, you probably are aware that a big chunk of my childhood collection was cards given to me from my aunt from the early 60s, cards from the early 60s. So I eliminated all of those simply because I keep those in a separate category because they were given to me by my aunt. I also eliminated any cards from my 1980 display. You can go searching through my videos. You'll see I do have a display in my card room that is all cards from 1980 Topps, because that is my favorite set of all time. So I put all of my 1980 cards in a display. So I left those alone. I didn't remove anything from that display. I also left my Binder Boulevard project alone. So again, if you watch my channel, you know I put together an episode a while back where I showed my Binder Boulevard, which was a mixture of cards from the 70s and 80s of all sports: baseball, football, hockey, basketball, and golf. And so I left that Binder Boulevard project alone because that's kind of a standalone part of my collection. I also didn't pull anything from complete sets. So if I have a complete set, like I collected and put together the entire 1983 Topps baseball set, so I didn't include any of the cards from that set. I could have easily pulled out those three iconic rookie cards, the Boggs, the Sandberg, and the Gwynn, but I chose not to touch any complete sets. I have most of those complete sets from the early 80s, so I didn't mess with my sets. I also decided not to do any duplicate players. I have one exception to that rule, and I'll get to that at the very end. So I basically chose just one card of each player. Even though I desperately wanted to include more than one card from some of these players, I decided just to pick one and then move on. Just though I kept my list of having some variety. And so there we have it. So I have my top 10 cards, and then of course, if you're familiar with my videos, you know I always have my honorable mentions. So I'm going to start with my honorable mentions. Pete Rose, had to include him. As a kid, I really enjoyed collecting Pete Rose, and I really love that 1977 Topps set. So I think that really is of the cards that I own, that is my favorite Pete Rose card. I do like the 84 Fleer Rose card, but that one was my choice for honorable mention. Couldn't hardly keep the Tim Raines rookie card, that 81 Donruss. Love that card, and I loved it as a kid, so I kept that in the list. That was another thing I should mention, is that I really, even though as an adult I have some fairly strong opinions about which cards I like more than others, and I kept those opinions part of this process, but I also leaned into the cards that I enjoyed as a kid. If there's a card I really loved as a kid, I definitely gave that some weight as I went through this process. So again, you'll see the next one. Carl Yastrzemski was one of my favorite guys to collect when I was a kid. There's the 77 Topps. I've shown this next card a few times, at least once on the channel. This record breaker, the record holders cards, I showed all 8 of those in one episode. I just love those. And having that Nolan Ryan with the Walter Johnson really was a huge part of why I loved collecting baseball cards. Something about the black and white pictures, and as a kid, that really drew me in. So that card definitely had to be in this list as well. J.R. Richard was one of my favorite players when I was a kid too. Very sad that his career got cut short by that stroke, but I really love that card, the 1977 Topps. You can see I got 3 of those in my honorable mention. Really love that set. Of course, couldn't keep the Cal Ripken rookie card off of the list. Being honest, I never owned the Topps, either of the Topps versions, but I did pull the Donruss out of a pack when I was a kid. So that one was my Cal Ripken representation of this project here. And then the Barry Bonds Topps rookie update from 86. Couldn't keep that one off. People have their opinions about Barry Bonds, and I've had my opinions about Barry Bonds. And being that I am a huge fan of Hank Aaron, I definitely had some thoughts as Barry was chasing down that record. I've come around a few times, changed my mind on how I feel about him, but in the end, I just have to respect what he accomplished on the field. And this card is so iconic, and I think it just looks great in my Slab City label. And then, of course, any kid in the 80s had to enjoy the good old FF Billy Buckner, or Billy, not Billy Buckner, Billy Ripken card with the colorful language on the knob. As a teenager, that obviously was a card that drew me in, and it's an iconic card in the hobby. So there's my honorable mentions. All of these cards are fantastic. And honestly, again, if I were to do this video again, even tomorrow or next week, I would have a totally different grouping of cards here, because there's just so many, and I could have chose literally hundreds of cards were on this table this morning, and these are the ones I just happened to choose today. Tomorrow I might look at them differently, but at any rate, I narrowed it down to my top 10. And like I said, these are cards that I look back on now as an adult that I really appreciate. And also, I took into consideration my feelings about these cards as I was a youngster growing up. And so I took all of that into consideration when making this top 10. And also, honestly, Mrs. Bucks and Six, she helped me go through these cards this morning as well, and gave me her thoughts. And so all of that came together to make this final decisions. But anyways, I've been rambling on now for 9 minutes, haven't even gotten to my top 10. So let's get right to it. So at number 10, I have this card here. This is a Dwight Gooden Donruss, 1985 Donruss box bottom card. When I was a kid, Doc Gooden was just fire for me. For some reason, I latched on to the 86 Mets team that won the World Series and crushed a lot of Red Sox fans' hearts. And for whatever reason, I really have no idea why I latched onto the Mets team. But Doc Gooden, I think, was part of that. He just was so much fun to watch. And this card I thought was just so cool with him with the stadium in the background or the field in the background, tossing that ball up. So this is the back. You can see this is the box bottom was a little different color bottom or backside to this card. And also, Dwight Gooden, he has the same birthday as me. He was born on November 16th. I was also born on November 16th, but a few years apart. He was 64. I was 72. He's a little bit older than me. So at any rate, this was number 10 on the list. Moving on down to number 9. I had to include a Reggie Jackson card. And of all of my Reggie Jackson cards that I have, this one I think stands out the most. I love this picture, this 1987 Topps Reggie Jackson. I think it looks particularly nice in this Slab City logo. Thank you, Jeff, for creating that Slab City label for me. But love this post-swing pose by Reggie. I don't know if I really need to get into any kid growing up in the 70s knows how dominant of a player Reggie Jackson was. And even though Reggie never played for a team I rooted for, and as a matter of fact, he played for a lot of teams that I rooted against, there's no denying his greatness, and he was just a personality that was larger than life. So Reggie Jackson had to make the list, and that was the one I chose. Another personality comes in at number 8. My number 8 card on the list is this Kellogg's Johnny Bench from 1976. Now, this card it's got a little bit of a damage on the side. I don't know if that's showing up, but so it's not in perfect shape. But I always loved Johnny Bench. He did that show on Saturday mornings, the Baseball Bunch, and that was part of the reason why I liked Johnny Bench. And I didn't collect a ton of Johnny Bench, just because living in Wisconsin, it wasn't always easy to find Johnny Bench cards. All right, to take a little drink there to wet the whistle. But Johnny Bench was always one of my favorites. And these Kellogg's cards had that special shine, that 3D effect that I always enjoyed. So Johnny Bench 1976 Kellogg's comes in at number 8. Number 7, this card is... I had to choose George Brett. George Brett had to make the list. And obviously, when I was a kid, I did not own a lot of really expensive George Brett cards. His rookie card is still out of my budget right now. But this 82 Fleer George Brett card, for whatever reason, always had been one of my favorites. The photography here with the dust kicking up, you can see the ball in mid-flight. And it just bounced off the ground. You can just see the intense look on George Brett's face, and just the colors and how it matches my Slab City. I'm not going to lie, that helps too. So all of that comes together where I really, really enjoyed this card as a kid, and I still enjoy it as an adult because of the photography. So that card comes in at number 7. Number 6, again, is another card that the photography has grabbed me. And pardon me, I'm going to take another drink. The photography on this card might be my favorite picture in all of baseball. I don't know that I have seen a picture that I enjoy more than this. Carlton Fisk from 1977. And Carlton Fisk has a bunch of really good-looking pictures in his cards, but this one I think is my favorite Carlton Fisk. Obviously, I chose it for this countdown. Love this card, and I paired it with a red Slab City label. Thank you again to Jeff from A Fine Card Collector for making that for me. So this card definitely had to make my list. This is number 6 on the countdown. And just love that card. All right, now moving into the top 5. These 5 cards, there's one that maybe some people might scratch their head about, but for the most part, these top 5 are probably, most of you would probably have these in your top 5 if you were a kid growing up in the 80s like I was. But Maybe not the same company. This one here, this is my Don Mattingly, and most people would choose either the Topps or the Donruss. But I chose the Fleer. I don't really have a real solid, I can't put my finger on it, but I've always loved the 84 Fleer design, and I loved all three of those designs from 84, especially the Donruss, but I lean towards the Fleer just because I'm kind of a unicorn. And the Don Mattingly, I had to include a Don Mattingly in this list. And so I chose this one. I chose the 84 Fleer. This is my childhood copy of it. And I just put it in the black and white Slab City label. Think it looks fantastic. So like all of these cards, these are cards I've owned for a very long time. I haven't bought any of these on eBay. These are all ones that I've kept with me through all the years, all the moving from one house to another, and they survived a lot of boxes. All right, so moving on now. That was number 5. Number 4 on the list is this beautiful 1978 Eddie Murray rookie card. And now this is my childhood copy that I've had forever. It is off-centered and I don't care. I just love this particular copy of it because this is the one that stayed with me through all the years. Didn't really know what color Slab City logo to go with, so I just went with the plain black and white, and I think it looks great. There's a lot of color matches. There's a lot of black and white in the card, so it looks good. And the Eddie Murray rookie card is kind of iconic card from the 80s or 70s. I was gonna say the 80 Ricky Henderson isn't in this video. Like I said, I didn't include any cards of 1980 Topps. But that Eddie Murray rookie card is one of the most iconic rookie cards of the era. Now, at number 3, this is the one that might have some people scratching their heads, but I'm sticking with my decision. I chose the 1986 Fleer Mickey Hatcher Big Glove card. As a kid, I just loved this card. I laughed out loud when I pulled this out of a pack. I can still remember that. The first time I ever saw this card, I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. So we put it in the Slab City, into the blue and red Slab City label. And I think that matches this really nicely. I love this card. Now, many of you maybe wouldn't put this particular card that high on your list, but it's my list, so it's fallen where it belongs for me. Love that card. Okay, so then we get to the top 2, and I started out this video by saying I only took one card from each player. You can see all of these cards are all different players. I don't have more than one player any player represented more than once, except for at the very top of my list. I could not decide. It just was agonizing over this, which one of these 2 cards to put at 2 and which one I wanted to put at number 1. But in the end, I chose this card as number 2. This is my Bo Jackson 1986 Topps traded, and I knew I owned this card, but I only recently refound it. It was in a box I found just a few months ago that was just labeled 1986 baseball, and I dug into it and found I had all of these cards from 1986, and this card was in there. I thought I had lost it, but it had been found, and I just love this card, and I especially love it with the blue and white Slab City label. Matches perfectly with the Royals colors. And so this Bo Jackson came in at number 2. Bo was just larger than life back then. Everything that you saw on TV, advertisements, football season, baseball season, it didn't matter. Bo Jackson was the man, and just what a sharp looking card this is. So this ended up being number 2. And the card that barely edged it out was another Bo Jackson card. So I did put Bo Jackson in my list twice. And it was this one. This one came in at number 1. This is the only card from my childhood collection that I ever sent in to get graded. All of the other cards that I've sent in to get graded are cards that I have purchased as an adult and then sent in. But from my childhood collection, this is the only one. And came back as a 6. And I don't really know why. It's a little bit off center, but the rest of the card is perfectly clean. But it graded a 6. But I don't really particularly care about the grade because I sent it in not for the number. I sent it in for the slab. So I can just even hold it up like this and I like it just the same. I love the tuxedo slabs, and I think this card looks fantastic in the tuxedo slab. And so this Bo Jackson baseball bat, football uniform card came in at number 1. This was my favorite card of my childhood collection. All of these are fantastic. And like I said, if I did this tomorrow, I could come up with a totally different list. There's so many cards that I just put away back in their boxes that never made it on camera today, but they're all just wonderful. Just the experience of going back and looking at these cards that I collected as a kid was definitely enjoyable and well worth it. I would highly recommend it, even if you don't make content. If you have cards, and especially cards that you owned when you were a kid, it's definitely worth it to go back and look at them because they do bring up memories, and it's just a really cool experience to go through. I had a blast putting this together. I hope you enjoyed it as well. So until next time, everybody, enjoy the hobby and stay true to yourself.